Hello, I'm Pearl Howie, and welcome to Authentic Success Your Way. I hear all the time from people how much they want to go on retreat, so I thought I would bring you to the wonderful Crouchers Orchards Hotel. It's still early, the sun is still coming up, and they're serving breakfast still. But it's a beautiful place to come and take some time out to relax. This is a series of 7 videos, a journey, even what you might call a retreat, a way, a pilgrimage, a Camino. We're going to go to the beach, we're going to go down to the woods, and we're going to find some places in nature where you can relax, let go, and feel safe to feel your own feelings. I've been one of those people that has had success, or what I might call a notion of success. The time when I had the flat, the car, the job, the friends, the parties. But inside, I felt like I was dying. I felt like I was living what we call a living death, because I wasn't letting myself do any of the things that I loved. I wasn't writing, I wasn't dancing, I wasn't being me. I wasn't making films. So sometimes our authentic success is just about opening up to the things that we have closed off. Sometimes it's about making big changes. Sometimes just very tiny adjustments to where we are. But we often feel that we need something else because we know things are just not quite in alignment. Now, I've studied with Native American shaman, and the ancient shaman all knew the truth that the answers are within you. So these exercises, these workshops are just about reflecting back to you what you know inside. So you don't have to do them all, you don't have to do them in order, but they are practices that I have used for many years to find my own way to my authentic success. And we're also going to talk about fear of success. And one thing I have learned is that every single person will face fear of success in their lives. It's the most normal thing in the world. So I hope you'll use these videos as a retreat if you're not able to come away and go on a retreat with me right now. Perhaps one day you will join me here at Crouchers Orchards or another retreat, or find another one that is perfect for your needs. I hope these videos will help you to find your own way, and that I see you down the road on both our ways. Namaste, and I hope you enjoy. See you at the end of the road. Welcome to Authentic Success Awareness. Now, the first step for many things is to have that awareness of what's actually going on, or even what we think might be authentic success for us. For many of us, what happens is that those desires, that pull, those ideas about what we might want to be doing get stifled because of all those ideas about what we should feel. And if we have a troubling emotion, we should just go and do some meditation or some mindfulness and it will go away. And that's not what this is about. It's a practice we need to use over and over again. Okay, we don't just do it once. Because authentic success is always changing. Use this workshop, use these videos to allow yourself to see, to feel anything that you haven't really been able to engage with on your own yet, so far, okay? And just come back to being yourself. That's all. So I'm going to hold your hand, and maybe you do this with somebody else and you do it together and hold each other's hands. That would be great. Very often we hear in spiritual world, desire is the design flaw. Well, no. I thought that for a little while, but then I went and I studied Buddhism, things like that. And what we understand really is that desire is essential. Okay? Without desire, there will be no babies. Desire helps us know when we need a glass of water or a cup of tea. So we're coming to a really big part, of this whole series of workshops. And it's what we need for doing this exercise about awareness. And it's our emotions, our feelings, more than our emotions. So first of all, we could ask, how many senses or feelings are there? And a lot of people would say that there's also a sixth sense. So we're going to do an exercise where we look at how we feel about certain things. Okay? What feelings come up? And it's really important when we do that we don't judge those feelings. And it's a bit like a doctor. If you go to a doctor and the doctor says, how are you feeling? Probably one of the worst things you can say is, I'm fine. I'm fine. The doctor says, why are you here then? Why are you here? Because we have to be able to feel our feelings, to feel our pain. And sometimes our feelings can be painful. They can be quite negative. When I was in Bhutan, I went and I had this wonderful audience with a really famous Bhutan monk, Abba actually. And he asked us about meditation. And he looked at us and he said, you people in the West, you shouldn't meditate because you do it wrong and you hurt yourselves with meditation. And we see that often because we say, hey, I feel jealous or angry. And then we use meditation to just try and take away the feeling without dealing with what's really going on. So I have a book about that, which is called Meditation for Angry People. That can be quite useful if you're struggling with anger, strong emotions, and meditation. Yeah, meditation. But another great monk called Thich Nhat Hanh, when he talked about fear and anger, what he said is, you have to take care of your anger. You have to take care of your fear. Don't try to pretend that it's not there, but to look deeper within it, to go down to the root and discover why we feel those feelings in the first place. And working with those Buddhist monks was really how I was able to look at my own feelings and my own fear of success. Why, when I look at something that really pulls me, does it also fill me with a feeling of fear or even dread? And that's because as we go towards the things that we love, very often those difficult feelings, those difficult situations around them come up. And that's really what I call fear of success. So when we go towards something we love, all the feelings, all the difficulties that we have around that can come up. All the difficulties we have with joy, with enjoying life. Like feeling guilty for being happy and enjoying things when other people aren't. Don't worry, we're going to look into that more later on. And we're going to have time to reflect, time to think about those things. But this is really the beginning. We're just putting on our shoes and getting going right now, okay? So I want you to just feel your feelings. Get in. Put your hands on hip, hands on your legs, feet on the floor. Feel grounded. And just know that you're safe in this retreat space to feel your feelings. And I know there are times when it isn't. And perhaps you need to take the time to do this workshop, to do this video, when it suits you. Perhaps you've got other things going on. I totally understand that, okay? But the whole point of this is to create the space where it is safe for you to feel, safe to feel your feelings, without judgment from yourself, without judgment from other people. I'm not here to judge you. They might surprise us, because sometimes, it's like once we allow the space for things come up that we never imagined. It's a bit like gardening, People clear a space in their garden, they go out, who knows what's going to come up? All kinds of weird plants and seeds and things, because that's life. Sometimes there's stuff under the ground that we don't really know about until it shows up. So another thing that we could use to help us with this exercise, with our feelings, is something I was once taught by Don Miguel Ruiz, and that is that all feelings, all emotions are real. So sometimes we get really angry about something because perhaps we read it in the paper, perhaps we mishear something, perhaps we imagine that somebody has done something to us. So we get really angry, get really upset because we imagine something has happened, or we imagine something has been done to us or somebody else. So that feeling is real, even if the stimulus is not. And sometimes we have an emotion because we've got into the habit of using that emotion. And anger is one of those. Sometimes we really love anger. We love using anger over and over and over again because it blocks out other emotions that we find difficult to deal with. And that's what happens in grief and grieving when we get to that anger stage. So we go through an anger stage in grieving. Sometimes it's kind of a break because we've been dealing with all these other difficult things like sadness, guilt, all those things. Sometimes we get into the anger stage and it makes us feel really powerful, and it gives us a break from all those other emotions that sometimes make us feel weak. Now, I don't believe that any emotion makes us weak. I don't believe that pain makes us weak. I think actually in the end, those feelings, those strong feelings, make us stronger when we deal with them, when we get through them. But sometimes we've been taught if we're fearful, we're weak. So we're scared to even acknowledge that fear. Like sometimes we're scared to acknowledge the pain. And we could say all pain is real, all feelings are real. But say, for example, you have somebody who's feeling a lot of pain because they've been taking a lot of medication, a lot of drugs. Perhaps they become addicted to those drugs, the painkillers. Okay. So when they stop taking the painkillers, they're definitely going to feel pain. That pain is real. But we might not serve that person by then giving them more painkillers. Okay. Because sometimes that pain is a result of having taken the medication for so long. And that's something that happens with this kind of work, okay? When we start to feel our feelings, instinctively, we sort of want to go back. Yeah? Once that fear comes up, we think, okay, can I go back and start using that behavior to put that fear away, to cover up that fear, to cover up anything that's coming up? It's really tempting. But in the long run, we know it's not a good idea because we want to deal with those feelings, okay? So in this exercise, we're going to look at, hey, just, what comes up when you look at different things? What comes up? And it's going to be a practice you could start to use day to day in your life, looking around. Where am I feeling the pull? Where am I feeling the pull to this restaurant? Where am I feeling the pull to taking this class? Where am I feeling the pull to spending time with this person or that person? Just very natural, isn't it, really? Where do I feel jealous of somebody? And I need to sit with that emotion and figure out, why am I jealous? Do I want the same things as them? Or do I want what they get from doing those things? Do I want to experience the joy that they're feeling from that? Because sometimes we look at somebody who's having a great time, we want to have a great time too, but their fun, their joy isn't the same as ours. So then we go and do what they do, and it doesn't work for us. And then we've got to deal with some more emotions as well. And when we start dealing with our emotions, it's really important to remember that this whole process, we could call it the path of the spiritual warrior. And what that means is when we feel an emotion, we don't necessarily act on it, but we don't act on it in a different way than perhaps we did before, okay? There's two words we can use here, and one is to repress. I think you probably know what it feels like to repress an emotion. Perhaps you're angry with somebody at work, but they're your boss. So we push down that emotion and we don't deal with it because perhaps it isn't safe, okay? Or perhaps we're a bit scared. The other word is restraint. And that means that what we do is we choose. We choose whether we express an emotion. We choose whether we act on an emotion. So we allow the emotion, but then we choose our reaction to it. We choose what we do with that emotion instead of just repressing. Because I think we all know by now, if we just keep repressing our emotions, we cause more and more problems for ourselves down the line. It's so important not to judge ourselves when negative emotions come up, because some people say the other side of love is fear. Some people say the other side of love is love. We become jealous because we love someone. We become fearful because we want to protect people. We get angry because somebody has treated someone we love badly. So all of these emotions can be tied up together. And part of our practice is understanding how they're entwined, how they're entangled, why we do the things we do, why we feel the way we do. But we have to start with feeling the feelings. When we're going towards our authentic success, our authentic selves, very often we become fearful. And Marianne Williamson once wrote, "Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure." So sometimes when we're going towards that authentic success, we are afraid of success. We're afraid of our own power. And we're afraid of life. Our greatest fear is of life, not death. And that's why this is such powerful and important work. So we can enjoy, engage, explore, delight in our lives. And just one more tip. Sometimes we don't feel a pull. Sometimes we don't feel any strong emotions. Sometimes when we ask the question, what do I want? Where should I go? What am I doing with my life? We get a kind of silence. Okay? And sometimes that happens because we need to rest. We're on our journey, we're on our Camino, our way, our pilgrimage, but we also need to rest. So when we don't feel a strong pull, we don't feel a strong desire, that's okay. Because what we're feeling sometimes is just our time for rest and recovery before we start practicing again. And that's when we need to practice rest and recovery. Somewhere as lovely as this, perhaps. And that's also what retreats are all about. That's why I want to give you time within these workshops and videos to just relax. Just take time, let your brain relax, let your body relax. And that's also a very important thing we can do with mindfulness and meditation. Just to find that peace that we need. Because on your journey, on your way, on your Camino, definitely need rest and recovery. One of the reasons we're doing this exercise, this experience, this practice, is because we need to unravel some of the ways that we've kind of got caught up with thinking about our emotions and feelings. But a bigger part is that we often become numb to our own feelings and thoughts because we just push them down or repress them. And that numbing is something we do for so many different reasons, mainly self-protection, or to protect the people around us. And I always say one of the best ways of feeling alive, of waking up to your feelings, is to get in the ocean, get in the sea, which I've just done in the sea now. And where I'm out of the sea, it's trying to come and get me back in it as well now, as you can see. And getting into the sea is a big part of the end of the Camino de Santiago. It's one of the practices when you carry on past Santiago to Finisterre. And the ancient ritual is that you swim in the sea at what's called the Costa del Mort, or coast of death. And often death just means letting go of something, the end of something that we've needed for a time or we've used for a time. And even just taking a paddle in the sea is often how we start to feel alive again. And we recognize when we've been asleep, numb, just going through the motions. And our numbing is often just because we can't deal with all of our feelings at once, especially when we or our family are going through difficult things. You got me. Whether I want to or not, it's coming for me. Like life. It sometimes just grabs you, pulls you back in. And that numbing is often because it's not safe to feel our feelings at the time. Just like in the pandemic. At some point we've got to get back into life. Get back to living again. Whew. When you feel those waves, you really feel alive. Woo! It's really cold. Whew. If we see something that is right for us, we know instinctively, and we can follow our way easily, naturally. But when things get twisted around, sometimes our ego tells us, no, not for you, or something else happens inside of us. So our reactions are confused and confusing. So what I'd like you to do, as you're watching these images, is just stay present with your feelings. Stay present and just ask yourself, how do I feel? These images, or anything else that you see or hear or even smell in life, stay aware of your reaction. There is one great story from the shamans which reminds us that what we are doing, the path of the spiritual warrior, is to be the hunter, to stalk our own reactions to anything that happens in life. So looking at these images, or even if you choose your own images, sounds, smells, whatever you like, Just be aware. Sometimes you will feel a pull to something, but other times your feelings may be not so straightforward. Sometimes you might see something and feel jealousy or fearful. It doesn't matter because we're not here to judge those reactions, those feelings. We're here to examine them. Just as a doctor would look at your reactions if, say, somebody was to hit you on the knee and see what your reflex was. So just pay attention, stay aware, and look, feel whatever you feel as you see these images, and just pay attention. Sometimes that jealousy is a great indication that we've been telling ourselves that something is not for us. Or perhaps it's something we cannot do at the moment because of our health or our means. But rather than repressing a desire or calling to something, we examine it more deeply. And just make notes on all of these feelings. Perhaps you'll build up something like a mood board of different images that call to you. And this can be very helpful because sometimes different images represent a similar goal or dream that we have put away for safekeeping. And in so doing, we've lost it. So just carry on with this practice, stalking your reactions, your feelings, making note so that we can work together to find your way. So what I'm trying to do with this exercise and this whole series of videos is to make it simple, because I know that it's not easy. Because even the simplest things, doing what we love, following our hearts, can get really confusing and difficult at times. And there are very good reasons for that. And I always talk about 4 associated disorders that often come up with this. One is grief and complicated grief. One is PTSD. One is survivor guilt. And the other is imposter syndrome. And I'm going to talk more about those in other videos later on. And we're going to talk about how to get past those. And when we're going through things like that, it's really easy for our feelings to become so overwhelming that we can't cope with them. So we can't follow our feelings, we can't follow our hearts easily. And that's really what a lot of this work is about. And there are other reasons that we can find it really hard to just be ourselves. And it could be that we have some kind of illness or condition. And a big one that keeps coming up at the moment is neurodivergence. And PTSD, I've discovered, is kind of neurodivergence. And another thing that I suffer from is migraines, which is another kind of neurodivergence. And we have other things, so many other things like ADHD and autism. And we can be a little bit different. We can find things quite challenging. And I know for me with migraines, sometimes the things I love are just impossible. The things I love become incredibly painful to try and do. So that's something I'm always figuring out in my life, how to do the things I love without either triggering migraine or just accepting that when I do what I love, I'm very likely to trigger some pain, some migraine. And it's just part of the way that I am. And a lot of this work is just figuring out if there are other ways that we can stay true to ourselves. Perhaps we can do things differently. Perhaps we can let people know that we have a problem and we need more support and help. And sometimes we just have to accept that the things we love, the things that are important to us, can sometimes just seem to be at odds with our nature. And that's part of what nature is like at times. And now I want you to look again at the images you had a strong reaction to. And we're going to use a tool, we can call it a tool, which is the truth. So if you see this video, it's a sailboat. And what we can ask is, if I have a pull, a calling, a desire, a feeling of jealousy, or even fear or excitement, what does it mean? Do I want a yacht? Or is it a symbol of perhaps freedom? Perhaps I need to take some time off. Perhaps I want to start my own business and be the master of my own vessel. Perhaps it is just a symbol of peace, of something I want to achieve. All we need to do is to tell the truth, to keep looking deeper and asking the question, what does this image really represent for me? I was a really big fan of Susan Jeffers and the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. You might have read it. And she added a very important little risk warning because she said in her book about feeling the fear that it was important to get out of your comfort zone and to take risks. And then she added, but I don't mean risks like driving a car really fast or taking drugs or taking risks that are risks for other people and their health and safety. So in the same way, I want to give you a little bit of a warning about what I call cheap thrills. So we say enjoy life, go out, do the things that make your heart sing, follow your heart, and all those kind of things. But sometimes the things that kind of come at us that seem like a good idea are what I would call cheap thrills. So the kind of things that make us feel excited because of that adrenaline coursing through our bodies, things like driving too fast. And there's nothing wrong with doing things. Sometimes we just need to say yes to lots of things. I've certainly did a thing where I jumped out of a plane, and they were a great way for me to start to see what was for me and what wasn't for me. So we might say something like gambling. You know, gambling gives us a cheap thrill because we feel a sensation of, oh, I put money on something, I'm having a bit of a flutter. But it's not the same as doing something that's really exciting. You know, that's really exciting because it's part of us, because it means we're doing something that makes us feel alive, who we are. So for example, today, me filming this, it makes me very scared. It makes me excited, but it's not what I would call a cheap thrill. So have a think about that, what that means for you, and just have that little warning that sometimes the idea of just going out there and trying lots of things can be good, can be useful, but sometimes all we're doing is wasting our time, our money, and our energy on something that actually isn't that good for us and isn't really taking us on our journey, on our path, but taking us away. And it's kind of like, can often be a bit like a detour. You know, sometimes we get sidetracked. So just be careful that you're not using cheap thrills to sidetrack yourself. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, this workshop. Now, the other day I was talking to somebody who was a fantastic business coach, probably, a great expert in business, somebody who has studied a lot spiritually. And she said to me, I really, really want an awakening. And I had one of those, and I wrote about it in my book, Free, Feeling Real Emotions Every Day, and also my guide to healing, if you want to know more about it. But the thing about an awakening is it's not always pleasant, because what we're doing is we're waking up. Sometimes it feels a bit like if we're waking up after an operation or an injury or an accident, and we're coming out of that anesthesia. We're coming out of all those drugs that we've been using. We're coming out of everything that we've used to get this far. And it's important not to judge ourselves for what we had to use to get this far. When I had my awakening, I was in Arizona, and I was in a spa, and afterwards I was wrapped up in the lounge, the chill out lounge. Great place for a retreat. And I was wrapped up, there was an open fire, it couldn't have been any more blissful and beautiful, it really couldn't. And the ladies from the spa came and they said, how are you? How are you doing? And what I said to them was, I am destroyed. This awakening has actually destroyed so much of what I thought was going on for me, and where I thought I was in my life, and who I thought I was. So sometimes we have this awareness a little bit at a time, and sometimes we have an awakening, and it can feel almost catastrophic, because we wake up to everything. We wake up to everything that we've been doing to ourselves. So if that has happened for you during this workshop, I want you to know that you have done something amazing, okay? And we've really woken up, as I say, like after an operation or something like that, and it's the beginning. It is the beginning of using that awareness, using all those feelings to know where it hurts, what I want, what makes me happy, what makes me truly happy, and where I'm just doing stuff that hurts me because I'm so used to doing it and because the people around me expect it of me, okay? So you've done a great job, you've done a brilliant first step with this workshop, and I hope it really helps. And sometimes you might just need to go away and spend time with those new awarenesses. It's like having a whole set of feelings again, it's like having another skin, you really start to feel things. So take care of yourself with this, in this moment, with these new understandings about yourself and life and joy. And I hope to see you very soon. Thank you for taking part in this. Enjoy life.